On today's show,
we discuss Draymond Green's suspension and whether the Warriors can still win without him.
Tass joins us live from Oakland to get us set for what could be the final game of the season.
And Trey gets Cavs fans' reactions to Steph Curry's interesting new shoes.
It's Monday, June 13th. The starter starts now!
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to The Starters. Whether you're listening to the podcast or joining us live on NBA TV or a little bit later on YouTube, we're happy to have you. I'm J.E. Skeets, and to my immediate right here for once, it's the international man of mystery, Lee Ellis.
Friend?
Back from Cleveland, Starters blog editor, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Hey-o! And joining us live from Oakland, where he's getting set for Game 5. There he is, Tass Mellis.
Hello, Oracle Arena.
Hello. Tassie, what do you have in store for us tonight?
Coming up on the show, I asked Klay Thompson a question he has never been asked before. That is coming up. And he answered it, guys.
Okay.
He answered it.
Okay, well, looking forward to that. All right, look, the Warriors are one win away from being back-to-back champs as they host Game 5 tonight at the Oracle. Can the Warriors finish the job at home, or do the Cavs keep their season alive? We're going to find out soon enough. But here's what we do know. It won't involve Draymond Green. Green was suspended for tonight's game after the league assessed a flagrant one foul for striking LeBron in the groin during a scuffle in the closing minutes of the Warriors' Game 4 victory. Now, LeBron and Dre, they got tangled up. The King stepped over him. Green didn't like that. Tossed a few jabs his way. Connected on one of them right there in the Hibberts. And so under league rules, any player who accumulates 4 flagrant foul points over the course of the playoffs gets an automatic one-game suspension. Draymond Green, he'll be watching the game just like us tonight. But I'm curious, did you think Draymond Green deserved a suspension for what he did and what he's done throughout the postseason here?
Yes, he did, because this suspension wasn't for that one incident.
Right.
It was for a number of incidents that he's accumulated throughout the playoffs. He's got a history of being a bit careless with his arms and legs flailing away. I know this incident itself was more a retaliatory one,
Sure.
but you have to remain composed, and he didn't. And because of his history, I think the league really had no choice. They reviewed it. It was clear contact. This wasn't any incidental contact. He flung his arm out there. That's an automatic 1 point for a flagrant. Giving him 4, they had to suspend him.
Yeah, he took the bait, really. Everybody's watching him. He needs to understand that there are other ways to show your disappointment with getting stepped over than swiping at a guy from behind, and basically any of those would have been better than what Draymond did.
Do you think LeBron knew what he was doing here? And knowing the outcome of the game, it sort of was in wraps. It looked like the Warriors were going to pull away. He knows, of course, that he's got the 3 flagrant foul points up to that. He gets 1 more. He gets him tossed for the next game. Do you think LeBron, the King, knew what he was doing there?
I don't think he knew he was going to react the way he did, but I think he knew he was going to get under his skin if he stepped over him the way he did, because he didn't need to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
But then again, you mentioned Draymond took the bait, and that's what happens in the finals, and that's what happens in the playoffs. Teams have to stay composed, and Draymond hasn't done it a lot throughout the playoffs. So I think it was, I don't know if it was a smart move by LeBron, but he got the result.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't know if he expected to get hit in the Hibberts over it, because
Yeah.
why would you do that? Why would you step over a guy just to get hit yourself? Doesn't really make any sense to me. But like you're saying, he was definitely trying to rile him up. And I mean, Bill Simmons, even on his podcast on Friday, said if things are going bad for the Cavs in Game 4, watch out, because something might happen with Draymond.
And that's what we said heading into this series when we were debating whether or not Green would make it through the entire finals
Yes.
without getting a game suspension. I just thought that it would be someone else, not LeBron James, getting the one under
definitely.
his skin. We thought it might be, they put like someone, Richard Jefferson or someone to just try and rile him up. In the end, it was LeBron, and of course, it worked. This is going to be interesting. We got a lot more questions about the suspension, but Draymond, you have to remember, you said it there. It wasn't he's just getting the game just for what happened there with the King. It's the accumulation of these 4 flagrant foul points, and a lot of them were dumb, just as dumb as what he did to LeBron. I mean, you remember back in the first round, there was 1 second left in this game when Draymond Green, for whatever reason, just tackled Michael Beasley.
Belly-to-back suplex there.
Yeah, and then, of course, we've seen this a million times. The kick to Steven Adams. Now, that got him 2 flagrant foul points, and now the final one with LeBron. So you're right. I mean, we questioned whether Draymond could go 4, 5, or 6 games without a borderline unnecessary play, and he
nearly
couldn't.
did it. Yeah.
He
Yeah,
couldn't.
you just think, what if he just gets up and gets in LeBron's face, right?
Yeah.
Then he's probably getting a technical foul, and that's bad. If he gets another tech, then he'll be suspended, but at least then he still has to get another tech. There are just other ways to approach it.
Yeah, I don't think he deliberately went for the Hibberts. I think he just threw his arm out
just sort
and
of did that?
connected.
Yeah.
But again, that's silly and that's careless, and he's been doing it, and he got punished for it.
Okay, well, what do you guys think? Game 5 tonight, the Warriors, like I said, they can win the title. Can they win without Draymond Green? Do we know how important he is both offensively and defensively. What do you think?
I think the Warriors are still the favorite, but the game is going to be probably twice as hard because Draymond was incredible in Game 4. He was just everywhere on the court, and he was incredibly disruptive as a help defender. I thought Nate Duncan made a pretty good point that with Draymond being out, might even be worse for the Warriors than Steph being out because Draymond enables their death lineup. He is the reason they can switch all the time. He's the only guy on the roster who really does what he does. Iguodala can guard LeBron one-on-one, man-to-man, but Draymond's such a good help defender, not to mention he is a great rim protector.
Yep.
He's leading the Warriors in rebounding for the series. There's a lot of slack to be picked up when he's missing.
Yeah, you see the job he does as a defender throughout these finals. Be it on LeBron, Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving. I mean, those are the three stars there, and he does a good job of bottling them up.
Assuming Iguodala comes into the starting lineup, that's good for the Warriors because he can guard LeBron. But if you're LeBron, you've got to now try to expose their bench, try to get someone like Iguodala in foul trouble. Harrison Barnes is probably going to get some minutes too, and Klay Thompson, because they are now weak at their bench. And we know the bench is one of the things that have got the Warriors to this incredible position they're in. So I think the Warriors can win. Their task is so much harder, though, to do it now.
Yeah, what's their motto? Strength in numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
So really, if any team can sort of handle the loss of a star player, an all-star, it is the Warriors because we've already seen them do it.
Yeah.
Steph Curry out a couple games in this postseason because of his injury. They still managed to pick up wins. You're right, Draymond's, just as important as a guy like Curry, but they have the talent. We don't know who's starting.
No.
As of right this second, as we head into this game. Does he go with Iguodala in there? Does he try and keep Iggy in that reserve role and maybe go with
Livingston maybe, yeah.
as a possibility, maybe even Brandon Rush, who started for some games when Harrison Barnes was injured early in the year.
No matter who starts for the Warriors, they're going to need huge minutes from Iguodala and from Barnes. Barnes has been incredible rebounding during this series, and they're going to need him there again. I think this is going to be a sneaky big game for Harrison Barnes just because this is a lot of pressure for him to be under. He's going to have to guard LeBron a lot more. He's going to have to be at the rim a lot more, and they need his rebounding.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a fun hypothetical. Let's say the Warriors wrap this up tonight. Can Draymond Green still win Finals MVP?
No, not tonight. He can't win it.
So if the Warriors win tonight, no way Draymond Green
No
can get
way
it,
in the world.
especially not even being in the building.
He can't be in the building. It would be so embarrassing for the NBA if they said NBA Finals MVP Draymond Green, but he's not here, so in his...
but then he runs down the tarmac. He's like, I'm here, everyone!
But I think as well, Steph Curry has had a good finals. I know he hasn't had the finals that maybe we expected him to have by going for 35 or 40 points, but if Steph Curry has 25 to 30 points tonight and they win comfortably...
You think that's enough?
I think he's going to get it, yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I think Curry could definitely win, and I think there is a scenario where Draymond wins it if the Warriors struggle and it goes to Game 6 and he comes back and Draymond has a classic Draymond Green, 18 points and a triple-double and great defense like he usually plays. But I would say without Draymond playing, Curry probably is the favorite, especially if he stays on track like he was in Game 4.
Well, if we see another game from Curry where he struggles and guys do a good job and the shot's not falling, I think Andre Iguodala would be at the forefront, which is very weird for a guy averaging 10, 5, and 4. But, those were similar numbers to what he was putting up last year when he won Finals MVP, of course. He's still shooting the ball 50% from the floor. Three-pointer, 38.5%. His plus-minus, exceptionally well because he does a great job on LeBron. I think he'd be in the running too.
Oh, for sure, he'd be in the running. And the voters recognise that from last year because, again, you mentioned he doesn't put up those huge numbers, but his impact, especially defending if he's on LeBron James most of the game and LeBron struggles, that's certainly going to help his case. But Steph, maybe just because he's going to have the bigger numbers, you expect he's going to shoot well or shoot better than he shot and put up, again, 25 to 30 points. I think that's probably going to put him in the running, but Iggy's been great.
All right, final one here, guys. Look from the Cavs side of things here. How do you think the Cavs can inject more movement into their offense? Because things got very stagnant down the stretch in Game 4.
Well, with no Draymond, things should just be easier for the Cavs, right? No Draymond means less small ball, which means less switching, slower rotations, which means there should be passing windows and driving lanes. So I think the Cavs are going to have to put the Warriors center into a lot of pick and rolls because there's going to be a center out there most of the night. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised to see Channing Frye make an appearance to kind of stretch things out because he's really been neutralized by Draymond Green in this series because Channing Frye can't really hang with Draymond Green when they're running full court, so there's just going to be a lot more space. So I have a feeling Channing Frye is going to be there, and I think we're going to see a lot of threes from the Cavs.
You saw it in Game 3, how the Cavs moved the ball and other people got shots, but then it really sort of stopped in Game 4 once the Warriors made a run and got back into the lead. And the Cavs can't get away from it. They just have to keep moving the ball around and get other guys shots. Again, especially guys like J.R. Smith and Channing and Iman Shumpert, those guys you mentioned, they just have to keep moving the ball. They can't get away from that when things get tight.
I think fatigue was definitely an issue here. I mean, we're obviously as late as you can basically get into this season, but you had LeBron, Kyrie, and J.R. Smith basically, there was a few seconds where J.R. sat, they basically played the entire second half. And that was off a quick turnaround from games 3 to 4, too, right? And where they had also played massive, massive minutes in the win because Lou has shortened his bench. and he's really rolling with 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah, but you have to imagine that's going to be the case tonight too, right? It could be the last game of the season for the Cavs. They're not going to want to go out with LeBron sitting on the bench for 6 minutes of their do-or-die game. I wouldn't be surprised to see him play 46 to 48 minutes.
Oh, I agree with that, but my point is, once you get fatigued or you run out of gas, you start to rely a little bit more on, well, here, pick and I'll take a shot. I mean, they weren't even passing the ball to each other down the stretch, the Cavs were. And I think a part of that was just because they were gassed. They're totally tired.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably true, but again, no one's going to have any sympathy for them, as you said, in the last game of the season. They've got to throw it all on the line there tonight and just stay focused and stay engaged.
We'll see soon enough. We got to take a break. When we come back, though, Tess joins us live from the Oracle in Oakland. We're going to find out this secret question he had for Klay Thompson. What a tease that was.
So mysterious.
Yes, back with the starters. He's a great swimmer. He just escaped Alcatraz. Tess in the Oracle. Tess, first things first here, buddy, before we get to Curry and Klay and Draymond. You sent us a photo of you in your hotel shower, and we've been wondering why all day long. Can you please explain it?
Fair question, guys. I got off a long flight, 5-hour flight, jumped into my hotel room, wanted to take a shower, wanted to freshen up, obviously, but I couldn't see the shower head because it was 9 feet tall. I am 5'10" and 1/4 inches tall. That is slightly taller than the average American male. It's not short, but that shower head is huge, so I thought I'd send it to you. I put on my underwear and I sent it over.
It looks like you got a workout in before you took that pic too, Tassie.
No, I could have done some Photoshop work. the things that they're doing with fat people to make them look skinny, I could have done a lot better work than that.
All right, Tess, there were some rumors floating around about Steph Curry getting shoulder surgery. Did he address that during his news conference at all?
Yeah, it was a great part of the news conference. Tim Kawakami asked him, and he couldn't even get out the question because Steph Curry said, listen, I got to address this. This is hilarious. No, I'm not having shoulder surgery. It's just the bumps and bruises of the NBA Finals. Steph took it very lightheartedly. Then he went back and he took it off, and I grabbed a snapshot of it, and I sold it on eBay for $6,000.
Nice
I did not sell it, but I saw it lying there, so I took a snap of it. But Steph's shoulders are fine. They're just dumb rumors.
Okay, good. Well, from one Splash Brother to another, I'm dying to know this because you teased it off the top. We heard or saw that you cornered Klay Thompson to get his take on something that you noticed about him. So fill us in here. What was that all about?
Yeah, when the Draymond Green suspension news came down, everybody wanted to get a soundbite from Steve Kerr or take some photos of Draymond Green. That's when I jumped in on Klay Thompson, snuck over there, and asked him a question that I had noticed while watching him in news conferences. But I think I've noticed something. I think I may be the only person who's noticed this. 2 recent press conferences after Game 7 of OKC, after Game 4 of the Finals. When you're done the press conference, you get up and you let out a grunt. What's going on there?
It's just a little release for me, you know. It's been a long night. It's pretty old manish of me, but man, when you go through the battles we go through and you got the anxiety weighing on you for 48 minutes because you want to win so bad, and that final, you know, sigh or that I do, it's kind of like the nightcap of the night because that's when your night's really over after you finish that press conference. You finally get the head of the bus.
I'm going to put a montage together of all your grunts.
Very good. Al will be up next.
It's pretty absurd of you, though. I didn't think anyone caught me doing that.
I can hear you, man.
Very observant, Tess. You're all over it.
I'm a geek. Yep.
Finally, it's something we talked about earlier in the show, but I'm interested to get your take on it, especially because you've been around the Warriors the last couple of days. Do you see a confidence that they can compensate for no Draymond Green tonight, sitting out the game for suspension?
The biggest thing is, guys, it's one game. I think if this was a series-long problem with no Draymond Green, it'd be an entirely different scenario. But the aura of Oracle Arena is real. I mean, these guys really believe they can win. And LeBron James adjusted it, or addressed it as such, saying that, listen, it's tough to win in this building. These guys are virtually unbeatable in this building. They have all the confidence in the world that they can compensate, that they will defend that point of attack a little bit better, that they will gang rebound, that they will work their butts off to compensate for Draymond Green. Listen, I think the Warriors had the mental advantage coming back here, and I still think that this gave them a little bit of a boost. Some people say that, sure, the Cavs have this mindset now that Draymond Green's not around, that they should be able to take care of business, but I think it's the opposite. I think the Cavs got off the podiums in Game 4 and didn't really think that they'd win coming back here, and I think this just gives this Warriors team, who really feels like they're unbeatable at home, an additional little boost to get them over the top.
We'll see. Tass, we got to give you your challenge before we let you go here. This is what you need to do, buddy. We want you to bring something back to the set, but you can't buy it. So I guess what I'm saying is you have to steal something for us.
Anything?
Yeah.
Make it important.
Yeah, make it cool.
Or weird.
I mean, I saw, we all work on a shared Google Doc. Originally, my challenge was to take a photo of the Larry O'Brien trophy. I saw that in the document. That sounded like a good challenge, but you guys threw me for a look.
We'll bring that back.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah, that is a challenge that I won't be able to accomplish.
Good luck. Good luck in your challenge there, Tassie. We got to take a break. When we come back, oh, this is fun. Cavs fans react to Steph Curry's new kicks. Back with the starters, we just gave Tass his Game 5 challenge, which was to steal something and bring it back to the set. But Trey, we got to find out how your Game 4 challenge went, which was to take as many swapped faces using Snapchat as you could with NBA personalities.
Yeah, and everybody loves getting their face swapped, so this actually ended up being pretty easy. My first face swap was with Inside Stuff's Kristen Ledlow, which, just a nice picture, but then once things swapped, it turned me into a washed-up soft rocker. I know, very, very creepy.
Wow.
Up next was Jared Greenberg, and I'll say, this swap, actually, both of us look like humans, which is pretty rare for these sort of things. Maybe Greenberg would look good with a beard, I don't know.
Jared Greenberg.
Yeah, then I swapped faces with Grant Hill, also of Inside Stuff. I don't know.
Whoa.
We don't have the same head shape, so this one looks super creepy, but my favorite was with Charles Barkley from Inside the NBA. And guys, you have never seen Charles Barkley looking this hairy. Neither
amazing.
on top of his head or on his face.
All right.
Cool looks all around.
Well done.
Challenge complete.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Trey. All right, last week we showed you this on Friday. Under Armour released the all-new edition of Steph Curry's signature shoe. And let's just say the public response was a little unfavorable. We showed you these on Friday. This is just a taste of the memes out there. AARP and Mr. Rogers, he loves them. But Trey, as our resident sneakerhead, you did some research into what the people actually think of the shoes.
Yeah, the Chef Curry 2s were all the talk of the basketball world last week, so I hit the streets of Cleveland before Game 4 to see what some definitely biased Cavs fans thought of Steph Curry's new shoes. Have you seen these new Steph Currys?
Yes.
What do they look like to you?
Not much.
Man, they look like garbage, man. He should throw them in the middle of the Cuyahoga River, man.
To me, I don't like them. I mean, they're not like the LeBron James or anything, so I'm not happy with them at all. If I'm gonna wear a shoe, it's gonna be either a LeBron James shoe or it's gonna be a Della Devova shoe.
A who?
A Della Devova.
What do the new Steph Curry shoes look like to you?
They look like they're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just average.
If they were a robot move, what move would they be?
They would be the moonwalk back to Golden State to lose Game 5.
What do the new Steph Curry shoes look like to you?
Grow up?
Where would you wear them? Would you ever wear them?
Maybe at like a ugly contest.
Do you like them?
Yes, I love them. Very interesting.
Where would I wear those shoes? Mall walking?
They look like a pair of shoes that a 45-year-old guy like myself would buy at Kohl's.
They look like the shoes of a loser.
Do you like the shoes?
They're very attractive.
Good stuff.
Hey, man, I think Steph's handled things the perfect way. He's laughing at it, he's acknowledging the jokes, and he's even wearing them in public now, telling everybody that they're straight fire. These are going to become the ironic shoe of the summer.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hey, Lee, you helped Curry win a three-point contest last year. Did you help design these shoes? They sure look like shoes you'd rock, buddy. No?
I would wear them, actually. I think they are straight fire.
See? There it is. You can pitch them now. Great stuff.
Straight fire.
Great stuff, Trey. We got to take one more break. When we come back, we'll recap Game 4's biggest storylines before we get into Game 5. Don't go anywhere. Game 5 of the NBA Finals tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC. But before we get to that, let's refresh your memory by revisiting the major storylines from the Dubs' Game 4 win. We start at number 5 here. Kevin Love returning to the lineup after missing Game 3 with a concussion. But the Cavs elected to bring him off the bench. It was the first time he'd come off the bench since 2010. Played pretty well, though. Chipped in 11 points, 5 boards, and a block. At number 4, the Cavs got a little ISO happy down the stretch of Game 4, and it backfired big time. Cleveland's big three of LeBron, Kyrie, and Love took all of the Cavs shots in the fourth quarter. And even worse, the Cavs attempted only 4 of their 21 shots off a pass. Wow. Gotta move the ball, guys. At number 3, the Warriors making history. The NBA Finals record, 17 three-pointers in Game 4. A lot of them uncontested looks. Reigning MVP made 7, Clay 4, Harrison Barnes 4, and Iguodala chipped in 2. Speaking of the splashing, Steph Curry, he got back to scoring. He was hardly himself through the first 3 games of the finals, but he silenced his critics a little bit by scoring 38 points on 25 shots in Game 4. It was the second most points in a game this postseason for him. Couldn't have come, obviously, at a better time, as the Dubs need one more W to go back-to-back. But the number one story from Game 4, we talked about it off the top of the show, most definitely Draymond Green and the suspension fallout. Dre assessed a flagrant 1 for his swipe at LeBron's Hibberts there because he already had the 3 flagrant points in the postseason. The 4th forced a 1-game suspension. So Green will be just like us tonight, watching Game 5 and not playing it. Hold on, you're not playing in Game 5, right?
I haven't been called up, no.
I'm never actually sure with you. Okay, so do you guys think this is over tonight?
I think so.
I do think it's over tonight. It's going to be a close one, though. Tension's in the air.
Yeah, it should be fun. Okay, guys, we got a fan sign, Lee.
Yes,
it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Probably the last one for the season. It comes in from Evan and his friend or sister there in Oakland. 1 streak, 2 seasons. Great job, guys. We also have a fan t-shirt, and this comes from 3-time Six Man of the Year winner and 1-time Starters guest Jamal Crawford, who was rocking it at the Garfield Bash Championship over the weekend. Shout out to Jay Crossover.
You can get those shirts in the NBA.com store. Check it out. Guys, enjoy the game tonight. We're back tomorrow. Break it all down.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, you can't untrim a mustache, so be careful with every cut.
Brace the night, people.